Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bram de Bruin. I am your host for today. Let's wait a minute for that everybody can join the webinar. It's always a struggle to come on board, of course. We are aware of the struggles that can have. So yeah, it's 1 minute after 10. So let's get started. As already said, my name is Bram de Bruin and I am your host for today. Today's webinar is all about eIDAS 2.0, as seen as a game changer for digital identity and trust services across Europe. During this session, we will explore what's changing, the opportunities and challenges ahead, and how especially government organizations can prepare themselves. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat. Let me see if my slides are working. There it is. We got two experts in this webinar. Kees Verhoeven and Boris Goranov. They will both introduce themselves shortly, and after that I will guide you through the agenda, and then the presentations can start. So Kees, would you like to give a short introduction about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Bram. Hello, everybody. My name is Kees Verhoeven. I'm Chief Strategy Officer by UBQ. And before this, I was active as a Member of Parliament with my focus on digital affairs. So I'm following the digital world and the political impact of it for more than 15 years now.
Thank you very much. My name is Boris Goranov. I'm founder and CEO of UBQ. I've been in the identity field for 25 years, and I'm super excited that we're making great strides in bringing strong and secure digital identities to the world.
Thank you both. What's the agenda for today? Well, we got 45 minutes. First, we start with a short recap on the future of digital identity. Then we give some more insights on risks and challenges of government digital projects. So, you know, what can go wrong, but also what can go right and what the opportunities are. Then Boris will take over and we'll dive into the requirements and options for eIDAS 2.0. And last but not least, of course, how the story of UBQ fits in. And then we have the Q&A session. We think that the presentation will take 30 to 35 minutes, meaning we have a lot of time to do the Q&A. So if there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. Let's get started. Kees, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes. Of course, everybody in this room, especially in this room, knows that we live in a totally digitized economy, digitized society. Everything that we use has become more and more digital. So all domains and sectors in the world have digital elements. And of course, that is something that started now almost 40 years ago. You could say when in 1988 the internet came from the US to Europe and landed here in the Netherlands. And everybody was happy and everything was changing. And all things were going to be new. There was new economy, new democracy, new oil. Data was the new oil. And you see in this slide that also in some more concrete aspects of our life, that internet and online and digital solutions came into place. So the first sale through internet was in 1994, e-voting in Estonia in 2005, and online banking became larger than offline banking in 2017. And of course, the step we are discussing today is in 2026. The EU citizens have the right to do online engagement and all kind of transactions with all governments and corporates. So that is the next big step in the way that online is taking over faster and faster. Of course, talking about identity. You're talking about something very crucial. Your ID is who you are, and when you're doing business, when you're making connections to organizations, or when you're having a exchange of information, then your ID is a crucial part. And of course, that's why we have, as you see, a passport or a driver's license. And now you always have to show that everywhere. But that is going to change in the coming years in a real concrete way, because your ID is not going to be in your pocket or in your bag anymore. It can be, but it doesn't have to be anymore, because it will be in your smartphone, in your wallet app, and that will be a big change that is going to come into place and is going to be very concrete in the coming years, we think. So that's why I think Boris is very excited, of course, because it's going to be a next step in the way that we experience the way that we organize our world. And the good thing, because technology and digitization sometimes gives a feeling of complexity and looking how to use it in a good manner. That's for me, although that's the fact. I always have the feeling like, am I in control? But when you have your own wallet app for your own ID, then you are in control of your information, and that's one of the big advantages of this new step. So maybe it's good to step into some of the advantages of the fact that we are going to have a digital passport. And we first look at the position, of course, I would say, because that's very important in this transition, to the benefits for citizens. I know there's a lot of stories also about the fact that digital passport and eID and eIDAS 2.0 is going to be a very big central database, but it's the opposite of that. It's going to give some real concrete benefits for a lot of people and citizens. The first one is better protection against fraud and identity loss. I think that everybody recognizes the idea of the fact that in a hotel you're giving a copy of your ID, which is totally not necessary at all. So that is very sensitive for identity fraud. A next very nice thing is the targeted information exchange that is giving the possibility to be sure that you give the information that you want to give. For example, if you want to buy something that you have to be older than 16 years, then you can only give the year, your year of birth, and then everybody knows that you're old enough to buy, for example, alcohol or some other product. So you don't have to give everything of yourself anymore, but only the part of yourself that is needed to do that specific transition. Of course, the control over their identity and deciding who shares what. I think that in the contemporary situation, a lot of organizations, public organizations, they own parts of information of the citizens, and citizens don't know which organization has which data, and they don't also know which organization shares which data with other organizations. So it's like you could say there's a little bit of a situation of a data chaos. And this is with the digital passport, citizens are going to gain way more control over the places where their information is put. Of course, easier transactions. That's also a very important benefit. And the last one is not. It says more inclusive. I would say it has to be more inclusive, because of course we also have a lot of people that are not naturally using digital technologies in their life, and they also should be able to participate in this new system. And that's something that's really important, because otherwise people will not use it, and they will have a feeling of distrust against this new technology. So to the next step of this presentation, I will talk a little bit about what eIDAS 2.0, eIDAS 2.0, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, so I always say eIDAS 2.0. What is the impact on national government organizations? because I think that Bram already said it very nicely. It is going to be a game changer, a wallet game changer, you could say. So at the end of 2026, every member state has to have the minimum of one digital identity wallet for all their citizens. That's because the wallet law, eIDAS 2.0, is already accepted in 2024, in May of 2024, and 24 months later, then the batch of implementing acts. I'll show you the timeline in a few minutes. All the member states have 24 months starting at November 2024 to have their own wallet for their own citizens. And it has to be secure, it has to be reliable, and of course it has to be available. And also very important to mention, because it's not in the slide deck, but it's something that is very important for people. It has to be free, so you don't have to pay for it, and it has to be voluntary. So you're not obliged to use it, you are able to use it, and countries, member states are obliged to offer it to the citizens. So people have a free choice to use or not use it. And it has to be open source. And that's also very important, so that everybody can look at the way that it's technically built, and everybody can contribute to that. And again, as I said, it has to be inclusive. I think that's a very important part of the society we live in. That governments really should take care of the fact that every participant and citizen has a good feeling of using it. So that is the impact, and of course it has a concrete impact on government organizations, because government organizations often have a lot of data of citizens. They are authentic sources. For example, the Chamber of Commerce, the Tax Authority, Cadastre, all kinds of organizations that own a lot of data, and they have to verify and check all kinds of transactions and requests, and they also have to issue proofs. So they come in a new role, and they have a new responsibility following from eIDAS 2.0. It will make cross-border interoperability possible. That's one of the core goals that is lying under eIDAS 2.0. It really wants to make possible that somebody in Greece can have an easy way of transacting or doing business with somebody in Germany or Slovenia. So that's really one of the goals that is behind eIDAS 2.0, interoperability. And very important, and I think that Boris will talk a little bit more about that, the authentic sources, the big government organizations, are becoming, or have to become, a QTSP, a qualified trust service provider. And of course, that brings some new obligations, but also new challenges and also possibilities. One very good opportunity that I see for government organizations is the fact that there are new opportunities for data sharing. And of course, in the nowadays we are talking about societal challenges like the energy transition, housing problems, and using data is a possibility that a lot of government organizations want to do, but it's not going very easy nowadays. And I think that eIDAS 2.0 and the wallet technology can also improve that practice in the coming years. And of course, maybe there even will be data-driven business models that will evolve. So that's something about the impact. A little bit about the timeline, but I'm going to skip that because it's quite easy. In May 2024, it was accepted. In November 2024, there was a first batch of implementing acts. There will be a second batch of implementing acts in 2025, somewhere in May or April, March. And from the moment that the first batch was active, so in November of 2024, all the member states have 24 months. So at the end of 2026, every member state has to have one wallet. That's the most important part of this slide. And to end with, what do we have to do now? So the Netherlands has a very good position in being a leader. We also we score high on a few factors like human capital and connectivity and digital infrastructure. But we also had a history, Bram, with some projects that were not really successful, like the over-chip card, APD. And we have also had a history of very expensive IT projects. So sometimes we are looking for ways to do it, to organize it better, but we have a very high potential in doing it really better. And you see that in other countries, there are a lot of very successful government projects, like X-Road, Bank ID in Sweden and Norway, Gov UK in the United Kingdom, and Mydentity in Belgium. So I think there's a lot of possibilities. The skepticism that is always there about IT and government is not really based on facts, because there are really successful projects around Europe. And I think that the Netherlands is in the position also to have a very good and successful project, especially with eIDAS, with the implementation of eIDAS 2.0. What do we need then to end with? Some success factors, and I will only enlighten two. I think the first one is very important: knowledge and expertise. Of course, you need to know what you want, and before you know what you want, you need to know and understand all the possibilities. And number 5 is also very important, together with number 6. Don't do anything or everything yourself. Don't try to build everything yourself and to be in splendid isolation, but collaborate with market parties that really have good solutions. And I think that's a natural bridge to Boris, who will be leading you through the second phase of this webinar.
Thank you very much, Kees. So what are the requirements and options for the eIDAS 2.0? We are slowly but steadily transferring all our physical tokens into our mobile phones. Passports, driver licenses, tickets, car keys, home keys, etc., etc. And that basically means that we're using our mobile phone for more and more things. And what you also see is your passport is not physically your mobile phone, because your passport is a physical thing, right? But you have a equivalent on your mobile phone that you can use to show your identity digitally online. And what is super interesting is if you talk to people, then some people are super enthusiastic because they can travel with their mobile phone, and other people are more reluctant because they are afraid of centralized databases. Can I have the next slide, Bill? And what happens is that while we are slowly adding digital identities in mobile phones, and member states have a requirement to make at least one wallet available, there's also a requirement for big government databases to be able to serve those wallets, and to be able to deliver the government services digitally into the mobile phone. So only having a wallet is not enough. You of course need to have your PID, your passport equivalent, in your mobile phone to prove your identity digitally online. And then with that digital identity, you can, for instance, go to the Chamber of Commerce and then have your mandates or your loaded in your mobile phone, or maybe to the land registry and get your proof of ownership of your house in your wallet. And what eIDAS says about those government authentic sources is they need to be reliable and trustworthy, so that other organizations in other member states can actually rely on their data. And in Article 45, basically the EU Commission has said is that an authentic source needs to be either a QTSP or a pub EAA, but they need to comply to the same requirements. And the interesting thing is this got added into the eIDAS regulations because some member states have government agencies that are autonomous and so independent government, so they cannot be controlled by another regulator within the government. And so this was an escape so that they could have the same requirements as QTSPs, but then be independent as government entities. So now, what does that all mean? Because it's really abstract. You have a digital identity or mobile phone, and you can get something from a government data source in your wallet. So let's imagine that you want to buy a house. So that means that currently you need to do a lot of things. You need to get a lot of paper. You need to scan it, upload it, sign it. And in these dynamics, you always have three stakeholders that I'm going to explain a bit. You have basically an issuer, that's a data source, somebody that has data. For instance, the government organization that issues your passport has a database that basically says that you're a citizen and that you're entitled to a passport. So on the other hand, you have the land registry. They have a record that they keep the records of the ownership of the houses. And then you, as a person, are the holder of a piece of data. Traditionally, you go, for instance, to the land registry and get a copy of or an original document from the land registry that you know that you're the title holder. And then physically, you go to a bank and you give them, or the notary, and you give them that the proof of that you're the owner of that, and that's the verifier. And that means that the verifier needs to trust the issuer and understand that the Dutch land registry is the organization that keeps track of who owns what in the Netherlands. Now, when we go to a real world example, for instance, a real estate transaction, what you see is that for a real estate transaction, we first need a seller and a buyer. So somebody needs to want to sell the house and to buy the house. But that also means is that you need a contract that basically is correct in what is actually being sold. How's the property? Is the shed part of the transaction? And do you have right of way to your house, etc., etc. So that means that the seller needs an identity and the buyer needs an identity. And then also the broker needs an identity, because you want an authentic contract that you know that the contract is correct. So if the seller, buyer, and the broker have a digital identity, they can sign the document. With a signed document, now we know it's a good document, which is signed by the seller and the buyer. But that's actually not enough, because to do a digital transaction, you also want, it's really convenient for the owner to be actually the owner of the seller to be the owner of the property. For that, you need the land registry. So the land registry need to be able to service that digitally. So now we have the land registry that has a digital document. And then, of course, the buyer needs money. And for them, and one way to finance a property is by using a mortgage. So that means that the bank needs to be willing to give a mortgage to the prospective buyer, and also give a proof of means, for instance, by having a mortgage application approved. But that's also not enough, because the bank, in order to be able to give the mortgage, they want to be sure that the buyer and the seller are honest, and there's a value appraisal of the property, so that the value is properly related to the mortgage itself. So that means that you need a value appraiser that has a digital that can make a digital value appraisal. But in order to have a digital value appraiser, you need to understand what the value appraiser is. And so you could have a value appraiser registry, so that you know what approved value appraisers are that can give you a value appraisal. So what now happens is in the eIDAS 2 concept is that all these organizations don't actually have to work together. Everybody is just doing their own thing. So the seller is just signing its contract, the buyer signing a contract, the mortgage, the broker is signing the contract, the land registry just issues ownerships, the bank gives mortgages. They don't have to collaborate with each other, but and the beauty of it is they don't have to collaborate with each other because you're using your mobile phone to collect the data with your digital identity directly from the organization. So that means that the owner goes to the land registry by themselves and loads their ownership documents in their mobile phone. This enables the land registry to be not to have to talk to the bank or talk to the value appraiser because the owner themselves gives the land registry document digitally to, for instance, the notary. And now the notary has a very easy job because they have 6 digital documents that they can verify digitally. And then, of course, also the notary can have can then digitally sign the document. And when the notary digitally signs the document, then he can upload it again to the land registry. And the land registry can check that it's the notary that uploaded all the data and update their record. And then the land registry also has a digital record of the transaction themselves so that they can prove that the land registry is actually correct. Next slide, please, Bram. So what you see is that with eIDAS 2, the EU has the ambition to have a scalable solution for 230 million people in the near future. So that means that in able to have a scalable solution for 230 million people in the near future, you need 2 things to actually make it work. First, you need to be able to issue and onboard users remotely, because you don't want 230 million people showing up somewhere, because that's a logistics problem. And you have to check the identity of 230 million users. So that means that in order to do that, you need to both be able to issue and activate mobile phones remotely, securely, and you need to, and in order to do that, need to establish the identity of 230 million users remotely and remotely and securely. So in order to be able to do that, to issue a digital identity or digital document into mobile phones and establish an identity, for that you want the equivalent security as a passport. So that and why is a passport secure? Because a passport has a digital chip on it that's secure. So you want passport grade security, means that you need a secure chip. And in order to have passport grade security on your mobile phone, you need a secure chip on your mobile phone. Unfortunately, these secure chips are not available on currently available on mobile phones. Can I have the next slide, Bram? And what you see is that the EU has created an architecture reference framework. So they have basically defined the requirements for a mobile phone of what it means to have a wallet on the mobile phone and what it means to be secure. And one of the important aspects of it is that you have a secure element on your mobile phone. And the architecture reference framework calls that a wallet secure cryptographic application and a wallet secure cryptographic device. Next slide. So what you see is that you have the EU has made an inventory and said there are basically 4 options to provide a secure device on a mobile phone. So the first option is basically what you already know, is that you have an identity card. So instead of using your mobile phone, you're just using your identity card, and then you take your identity card and hold it against your mobile phone. And then suppliers for that could be IDEMIA or Thales or Entrust. Now, the second option would be to use the native secure element on the mobile phone. A third option that is on a mobile phone is that you use the SIM card of the telco operator. That's also a secure element. And the third option that you can use is a remote secure element. So that is a HSM in a data center that's securely connected to your mobile phone, as if it is a local secure element to assist the mobile phone in the security and the binding. And we are one of the suppliers that has a secure solution for that. Now, if you compare these solutions, what you see is that there's a couple of things that are relevant here. So is it actually compliant to the eIDAS requirements for high security? Is it scalable? So can you use it for 230 people? Is it inclusive? Can everybody use it? But also, what if you use your mobile phone? Can you rapidly recover and continue using it? Or is it really complex? And can you actually recover the content of it? Is it user-friendly? And like before, can you issue it remotely? So can you issue it unattended remotely without people having to turn up somewhere? So if we look at, for instance, the identity cards, then you see that it's they can be eIDAS high secure, they can be scalable, and it's inclusive. Everybody can use them, but they actually contain data that you cannot back up, so that the rapid recovery is hard. So you need to get a new card. They're not user-friendly because you always have to have your card and your mobile phone and then combine them. So that's a hassle. If you have to log in frequently, it's not user-friendly. And you cannot do it remote unattendedly. You actually have to go to a municipality or to a location to get it. Now, the second option is the native secure element on the mobile phone. There it becomes a bit more complex because they're actually not certified. And even if they start certifying it now, that means that they have to start rolling it out. So it will take years and years. So is it scalable? Not in the short term, at least. But also, it's not inclusive is because what you see is that you need a new mobile phone as a person to actually use it. So that means that a lot of people will need to buy mobile phones. Also, a rapid recovery, it's stored on the local secure element in the device itself. So that means that you lose everything that's on there once you lose your mobile phone. But it is absolutely user-friendly and you can activate it remotely. Now, if we look at the option that we're using the secure element of the telco, there again we see that it's not compliant currently. So that means that all the mobile phone device manufacturers and the handset manufacturers need to start implementing and rolling it out. But the telcos, if they implement it, it is scalable because they can do a SIM swap. Although it's a bit complex because if you want to do a SIM swap, you need to do some kind of logistics with the SIM cards. It is inclusive. It's not inclusive because you also need modern phones, and you still have something physical in your mobile phone, so rapid recovery is really hard. But of course, again, it's user-friendly, and once you have a modern SIM card in the mobile phone, it can be activated remotely. And then, so if you compare that with a remote secure element, like that of YubiQ, what we see is that it's compliant to the regulation. So it's eIDAS compliant. It's scalable because you can, everybody can use it. It's inclusive because you can use it with older phones and also in the future. Because there is a mobile phone and a backend, you can do rapid recovery when you get a new phone or when you get a new identity with a new phone. And it's a phone-based, it's user-friendly, and you can activate it remotely. And what is really interesting here is that the EU has set the specifications, and in Germany they have a public process where they have made an inventory of all those options, and they have that publicly available. And this is basically what the conclusion was of the Germans. And so at the end of the presentation, I'll have an email up, and you can send me an email. I can send you the link if you like on the public German consultation and architecture developments, and where they call it option 3, and that's a remote secure element. So how does YubiQ fit into the story? We as YubiQ have been a identity innovator for years, and we have made sure that can I have the next click? So we have developed technology to make remote identity verification easy, so that you can have a scalable digital identity, your identity verified remotely. And with our remote secure element, you can issue a digital identity remotely. That means that once you have that as a citizen, you can now use your digital identity user-friendly. For instance, with your mobile, you can go to the Chamber of Commerce, and then they can issue their credential in your mobile phone. Now, so we have a digital identity verification with identity issues, with identity use, and what eIDAS 2.0 is arranging is a trust model, so that verifiers can understand that, for instance, for the land registry, they need to have a verified credential for the land registry to prove home ownership. And then what the EU is also facilitating is interoperability. This is super important. This is that everybody talks the same technical languages, so that you can use your Greek wallet with the Dutch land registry. So that we get the interoperability across Europe, but also that you can use your Dutch issue PID in your Dutch wallet, that you can actually use it in the Greek land registry to get the Greek data. Now, what does that mean? Is in order to what we're talking about, if you're an authentic source and you need to become a QTSP, that means that you need, as an authentic source, to comply to a lot of requirements. And to put it bluntly, it's basically 1,500 line items in Excel that you have to demonstrate compliance with. And then, but it's actually a certification. So that means that it's not only that you need to write it down and show that it exists, but you also need to prove that it's working. And so when the auditor comes by, that it also worked 3 months ago. So you need to have a management framework in place that actually checks compliance continuously. So what we as YubiQ have done is we have first created a platform for ourselves, for our remote secure element. And with that platform, we assure that 85% of all the 1,500 line items in the Excel are already covered. So that means that you, as a QTSP organization, only have to cover being a QTSP. So understanding your risks, being a reliable organization. But also the requirements are that you are a trustworthy organization. So that means that if you have issued a credential, you need to store your audit logs for at least 7 years. So that means that before you start, you actually need to have a termination plan for when you stop being a QTSP. And what we as YubiQ have is we have solved with our remote secure element the hardest problem. And the hardest problem is the cryptographic key management. And because we have solved the hardware problem, we can then have a flexible, scalable, cloud-native platform that's QTSP compliant and certifiable. So what does that actually mean? So first you start with a trustworthy system core. So that means that in order to have a platform, you need infrastructure. And infrastructure is Kubernetes cluster, databases, networks, etc., etc. So we have rigorously automated that. and now you have it, and we have made it compliant to all the requirements. So that's already a part of the 1500 line items. Now, the second part is now you need, based on that infrastructure, create an operational environment that's trustworthy. So that means that you need logging, monitoring, archiving, backup, disaster recovery, but also an audit log, etc., etc. And so, in essence, it's the cloud native consortium. You have the 1,000 logos, and we have selected all the relevant logos and pre-integrated everything and made it compliant to the 1500 line items. And now the last part is you need to be able to put software and applications into that secure operational environment in a trustworthy way. So that means you go from code to Docker containers with vulnerability scanning, change management, release management into the operational environment. And now you have a trustworthy platform that's compliant for a QTSP. And then in that trustworthy platform, we have the relevant applications such as the wallet backend or the issuer and the verifier software that can then run trustworthy in that environment. What makes this unique is that we have automated everything and productized everything. So that means that for you as a QTSP, you don't need to do a traditional QTSP implementation of 2 to 3 years. Next slide, Bram. But you can actually become a qualified trust person yourself, leveraging our platform in 2 to 3 months. So that means that step 1 is make sure that we integrate your technology into your existing systems. Step 2 is prepare your organization for the qualified service provider certification process, where we help you with guidance on what it means. So you, as a qualified service provider, have a qualified service provider management. You have a supplier manager that's managing us. You have a compliance officer that understands the setup between what you're doing and what we are doing, and so that we can support you. Then we, of course, tailor it to how we are doing it together, and you finalize your documentation. And then the final step is that you arrange for the auditor to come by and do the final audit. But the speed is achieved is that we have part certifications in place so that the auditor doesn't have to redo our work. So what this means is that with eIDAS 2.0, the EU has arranged for basically the horizontal use case, the government use case, so that people can have a digital identity into their wallets and have all the government databases that are relevant serve wallets. And now this public digital infrastructure can be leveraged by verticals such as banks and logistics and healthcare to enhance their digital journeys and provide data exchange in their verticals and enhance digital processes in their verticals in a compliant but also secure and user-controlled manner. Thank you very much. Oh, we're not hearing you, Bram.
No sound?
Yes, now you have sound.
Thank you very much. So we are now heading towards the Q&A. We only have a few minutes left, so let's dive into that one directly. I see 2 comments from Andre. The first comment is about eIDAS 2.0 is not equal to your passport. Maybe, Boris, you can answer that as well. And then I see another comment from Andre. Trust in the digital ID comes from a lot of things. For instance, the quality of the government ID data, a reliable process of issuing, and the use of certificates. To what extent can you say something about that latter, with a smile, in relation to the Dutch government and eIDAS 1.0? I think that's typically a question, Boris, you can answer.
Yes, absolutely. So we're cheating a bit in the sense we always say you have your digital passport in your mobile phone. Of course, it's not a passport because passports have recognition and you can travel to other countries. But in the EU context, when you have a PID, a personal identity in your wallet, you can use it to show your digital identity online and also offline, actually. And with digital travel credentials, you can use it to travel within Europe. So that means that for all intents and purposes, for a EU citizens, it feels like a passport. That's why we cheat a bit and call it a passport. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the government agencies that are running a authentic source, of course, the eIDAS doesn't say anything about their processes and how they run their business. That's grounded in the national laws. What eIDAS is trying to achieve is that what I will say is that normally when your organization, you can do, for instance, an ISO 27000 certification, and what you do is you make your own risk assessments, and then based on those risk assessments, you identify your assets and your risks and your threats, and then create an organization around that where you think you are secure and safe given your unique circumstances. The problem is that if everybody doing them themselves, you cannot have confidence in that they are doing the right thing from your risk assessment point of view. So what the EU basically has done is they have made a risk assessment for everybody and have defined a common baseline what everybody needs to comply with, so that everybody knows that at least the other party that's supplying the data from an IT point of view in issuing the digital credential has done the right thing from an eIDAS 2.0 point of view. So, and that's why you can then have, how do you call it, have confidence in the issued credential that you're verifying. Yep. And in order to do that, the EU is making a governance process, a certification process. So in order to become a QTSP or an authentic source as an issuer, you actually need to get certified and then get accepted and on the EU trust list that will then be distributed to all the verifiers so that they can have confidence in your data.
Thank you very much, Boris, for this answer. Andre, if it's not enough, of course, we can help you also in a one-on-one. That's also the segue to my final slide, because, we are already a little bit over time. What's next? After this webinar, there are more webinars to come, for example, about how to cooperate in the eIDAS 2.0 ecosystem. That's a more of in-depth webinar that will be held in March this year, so in 1 month or so. But if you want to know a little bit more, there is also an option to start a strategic session with YubiQ. And last but not least, the one-on-one with Boris. He will help you with some in-depth knowledge about eIDAS and also how YubiQ can help in this one. If you have any questions, as you can see, this is the email address of Boris. Also, to get the link from the German decision to go for the remote secure element. So yes, thank you very much for joining this webinar, and hopefully see you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.